Thank you all volunteers for getting all that stuff done for us. So to get us started, I'm going to hand the mic over to Edie to lead us in prayer.
Let us stand and celebrate the Lord. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns in heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. And so, Lord, we celebrate and we bless your name tonight. We love you. And we present ourselves tonight to you in the only way we know how, as we are. You created us. You know everything there is to know about us. And so you know about the victories. You know about the defeats. You know about everything that's been going on with us all week long. But one thing we want you to know, we just thank you for bringing us here in this space at this time tonight. We want to thank you for all the people who have helped us at all of the tables and the services, the leadership team, and all the volunteers who have just put this experience together. We thank you. We just thank you. Because in many cases, this is the only time that we have something that faintly resembles order and peace. We just thank you for that. We also thank you for the servant you're going to bring before us tonight. We thank you before we even get there for the wisdom, for the lessons, for the information that we're going to get from the speaker tonight. Lord, you're awesome. You're awesome. That's all we've got to say to you tonight. Bless us, please, even in this new room. We're not in our other room, but we know that you are all places and everywhere at once. So if you can bless that room, you can bless this one too. And let a residual blessing be left when we leave. We love you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Edie always starts us off with this subdued way. We all have to sort of wake ourselves up after her prayers. Somehow we just got to get her to give us a little bit more energy when she leads us in prayer. So, Edie, as always, thank you. In fact, I think she's getting more energy. Edie, you're like walking all over the place at your new job, right? So she's like in her fitness program. So I can't imagine if like she becomes this rock star, like cardiovascularly, heavily fit person that can like do laps around this room. I don't know what's going to happen. Those prayers are going to be unbelievable, right? We're going to have to give her a gold medal for her prayers. So, okay. While everybody's getting their last bit of food and getting settled in, we always like to acknowledge intermediary successes. So, those of you that have had an in-person interview over the last week, would you please stand up so we can give you a round of applause if you've had an in-person interview? Outstanding. Keep standing. This is part of our exercise program. So now that you're standing, we're going to add to your ranks. Those of you that have had a phone interview over the last week, would you stand up so we can give you a round of applause? Great. Looks like more numbers coming up. All right. While you're still standing, you're not done yet. Those of you that are still sitting, we hope you're going to stand up with this, that have met at least one other person through LinkedIn, through networking opportunities, to actually go ahead and have them help you with your job search. If you think they'll help you with your job search, would you please stand up and let's give you a round of applause for your networking activities. Okay, and those of you that are standing up, what do we say to the people that are sitting down?
Get to work.
Get to work, right, absolutely. All right, have a seat. You got to be out there networking. At least do that much. At least be connecting to someone else on LinkedIn. And if you don't know how to spell LinkedIn, and you don't know what LinkedIn is, there's a timeout room in the back. We can send you back with Dave, and You really need to learn about LinkedIn and be making those connections. Okay, there is another important group that we always like to acknowledge, and you know, when you drive by on Route 7, you see this, what looks like a mall over here. It's like this mega church, and you walk in, and we got all these volunteers running around, and all these people doing these things here, and you're wondering, wow, all these people, all these opportunities, and all these workshops, it can be a little intimidating. So those of you that are first timers, and we know you by the famous red border around your name tag, we call you the red tags, would you please stand up so we can give you a round of applause for braving it to come here tonight?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, let's give them a woo-hoo. Terrific. All right, now what we're looking for from you next week is you're going to be standing up and saying, oh, I had an in-person interview, I had a phone interview, right? We want you standing up again next week. We better make sure that the only time you're not getting invited to stand up is just because you're a first timer. All right, we really want those successes. Okay, so we have someone here who's been a CNM alum, who's now gainfully employed. Barry, where are you? Barry has a.
Right here.
Ah, Barry, come on up. All right, he's busy drinking. What do you have in that? Just water, right? Okay, all right. Barry's got something to
It's
share with us. Okay, CNM.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm an alum, and I'm now looking to hire someone. The position I'm looking to hire for is a marketing manager. Ideally, someone who's been in the area of business management, not just communications, but marketing manager to do recruiting for George Washington University's College of Professional Studies. Our job is to help people understand the programs that we have and attract them to consider coming back to GW to get usually a master's degree. The job is available now. The position is likely to be, we've got a couple of different offices. I'll tell you the job is likely to be in Alexandria. And I will be putting some information up on the CNM website. What I'll do is I'll post a link to I know everybody says, can't you just tell me the job description? It really will be easier if you go to the website, read the job description on the GW site, and see if you fit the requirements. I believe it is the only marketing manager position currently posted on the GW website. Okay, so if you go to gwu.edu and then go to the jobs, you should be able to find it. Can I pass on one other piece of advice?
Absolutely.
God knows how many resumes, why did I say it that way? that I prepared and customized the cover letters that I wrote. I have been looking to hire some folks with different backgrounds for the last couple of months. I have personally read well over 200 resumes and cover letters. And having written cover letters, I feel it's important to read them. It gives me insight into, people will put things in a cover letter they do not necessarily put in a resume. I will also get some sense of whether or not the person is able to represent, in my case, George Washington University in an intelligent, coherent manner, if they can put together a cover letter that makes sense. It doesn't have to go into long explanation of why you love GW and it was something that you thought of from day one. The point is, one, cover letters, I believe, can be important. Two, make them coherent. Three, between your cover letter and resume, write it, proofread it, have someone else proofread it, and then you proofread it again. I can't tell you how many resumes and cover letters I've written, I've read, especially cover letters recently, that have applied for a job at George Washington University, because that's the website, and they've told me how much they really love Georgetown.
George Mason.
Or, I haven't gotten George Mason yet, but Georgetown. There are a lot of Georges in the area. Right? I've had people submit an application for a totally unrelated job, because God knows, I'm sorry, I did it again, where they found it on the website and why they're applying. Just try and help somebody who is going to be looking at your application understand why you, what's in it. If I'm the guy reading it, what's in it for me? Why I should consider you? Help me understand your credentials. And counter to at least a couple of resumes I've gotten with CVs, don't make it a 13-page submission. And you're laughing, I actually had a cover letter and a CV that was 13 pages long. I don't know if they were applying for the graduate program. I will tell you that this person was in no way, shape, or form qualified for the job, but they were certainly long-winded. That's a piece of advice, if I can pass it along. It's a ton of work to apply for a job, I know. I was looking for 2 years. But if you're going to have a shot at it, make it your best shot. And finally, one guy who started yesterday that I just hired not only had a great application, but he also came recommended from 2 different sources who put in a word for him telling me that I should make sure that I read his application. So the networking really does make a difference. And he was great. Beyond that.
Thanks, Barry. And the interesting piece of this is that it is interesting how we go from being on one side of the table to the other side of the table. And I used to remember when we'd have our recruiter panels, and it was always great about having the recruiters here because you realize they really do have a heart, they really do have a soul, they really do care about the people that they're trying to recruit. And the problem is that when you start to see all the stuff that's coming in and hitting their desks, you start to understand sometimes why they get a little bit ruffled because of what they have to work through. So it's amazing the number of people out there that don't get the kind of insights and training that you get from our volunteers and from each other. Just make sure you do it. That's the sad thing, is if you get all this stuff and you learn about it and then don't do it, sort of shame on you. And we want you to get hired so that you can come back and tell us about the jobs in your new company. All right. So let's see. I think we have, Chris, you gave me a, did you have a victory lap as well tonight?
Well, yes.
Great. All right. Well, terrific. Well, let's give Chris a round of applause. You know, it's wonderful when someone comes up and gives you a card and says, "Oh, by the way, I just got hired. Yay!" Here we go, Chris. Tell us about it.
Hi. I just got a small victory in that I got a short-term contract for 4 weeks doing some recruiting, which is something that I did in the past. That's not exactly the job I'm looking for. I'm looking to do information technology, business development, but I'll be doing recruiting for an information technology firm for a short period of time. So I wanted to announce the jobs that I'm recruiting for in case there's anybody in the room that might fit those qualifications or know someone. There's 3 jobs working on a contract in Silver Spring for HHS, for the agency HHS, Health and Human Services. And the first one's a project manager, IT project manager, has to be PMP certified, but it has to have 7 to 10 years of actual IT project management. The other one is a project scheduler with IMS background, which is Integrated Master Scheduler. And the third one is somebody with Microsoft Project Server experience and SharePoint experience. So if that fits anybody in the room or you know somebody, see me and I'll give you my email. Thank you.
We're always happy to celebrate even 4-week contracts, so don't think that it has to be a full-time job above some pay rate before we accept a victory lap. Chris, one suggestion for you. Are you part of our LinkedIn CNM group?
Yes.
You know you can post these openings in the discussion section in LinkedIn.
Okay.
We always encourage you, if you've got a lead on an opportunity at your organization, because sometimes people will hear about it and they go, oh, well, I don't remember Chris's information, or they didn't write it down, or misspelled something. Make sure you post that in our LinkedIn group under the discussion section. The nice thing about that is you don't have to pay for a job posting when you do it that way. Okay, all right. Well, we have. Let me make one quick announcement, because I had a good conversation with Sharon here, one of our participants tonight, who sent me a wonderful invite saying it was so nice meeting you, and she did just what I had suggested, that I don't like to connect with people that I haven't actually met. So Sharon sent me this wonderful invite that said it was nice meeting you. And I'm like going, I can't remember Sharon that well, because nice meeting you. I got a room full of people that I have a nice opportunity to meet. So I'm going, all right, I think I remember Sharon. So we had a good conversation tonight, and one of the things she encouraged me to share with you is that if you're going to make it personal and memorable. I can't, not rememberable, I don't think that's in the dictionary. Make it memorable, something where maybe we had a conversation and allow me to remember how I met you. Because I guarantee you, I will get invites that'll be in my inbox by midnight. I do go to work tomorrow, and sometimes I might not see your invite for another 2 or 3 days. And when I finally get around to it, if it's something where it was nice meeting you, shame on me, I might not remember. I'm sorry, I'm getting older, I'm getting gray, maybe not senile yet, but anything you can do to help me remember who you are is a big help. Okay? All right. Now, Peter. Where's Peter? Peter, who has a victory lap? Peter, come on up. Let's give Peter a round of applause. Good to have you here tonight, Peter. Share your story with us.
Okay, my name is Peter Thomas, and I just joined the group literally 2 weeks ago, but I've been looking for a year, so this group really did have a lot of benefits. So I had actually, after looking for a year, I had 2 interviews on Friday, and I thought they went, well, you're always self-critical, so I didn't know how well they went. At least I'm always very self-critical, but I wanted to make sure that at least I was thankful to God that I got the two opportunities. And I got a phone call this morning stating that I got one of the positions. So it was very good. The reason why I'm snapping these pictures because my father, I invited him here, he has no idea, so this is the first time he's heard this. So I wanted to surprise him, and my wife suggested a small prayer group. So every Wednesday, my father, myself, and another friend, we call each other in the morning for the week, and we go over prayer requests and that. And this has obviously been an ongoing one because I've been looking for pretty much a year. And the biggest thing I could say is, as far as this group goes, the support is the way it's set up and the energy you feel coming to here. And I know people that are still looking for a job, and some have been 6 months, some have been a year, some have been 2 years. I wish I discovered this a year ago. A lady that goes to my church, Arlington Seventh-day Adventist, is an HR director, and she suggested this 3 weeks ago. I said, we've had some people that have had some good success. So definitely I pass the word on along, and I'll have other people coming here. The prayer aspect I cannot underestimate. It is huge. It's probably overall the single most important thing that happens. As far as the technical piece, the one thing that I can take away is the networking that goes corporately and individually, and then as a sidebar, people you meet all around. The table I sat with the first time, I'm still in contact with that person. The people you meet, the networking people that you meet, people that have a job and people that are looking for a job, to me, was a shot of encouragement that I really, really needed. And to see other people that are earnestly not only looking, but other people that have found a job and that are helping others. So the collective helping piece is I think is key. So those that are here for the first time, If you can make it every week, you can make it every 2 weeks, just the networking aspect alone, I think will go miles. The help you get with LinkedIn, using that as a network source, I think is valuable. Again, I discovered the value of LinkedIn a little bit ago, and I learned more and more now. I'm discovering how much more valuable it is, not only looking for a job, but after you get a job, as you mentioned, continuing, because your network, it continues to build and build. And the other thing, piece of advice I can say is, while you're looking, keep yourself busy. If there's a volunteer organization, if there's something you like to do, while you're in the middle of looking, as like a hospital, a church group, I recommend doing that. Somebody you can help out. I did that. I taught part-time as a science project for after school, which really kept me busy. Not only busy, but really kept me engaged. So while you're looking, if you can volunteer for something, maybe it's only a couple hours a week, I really think that helps enhance your job search, because again, that's networking. And I always think the key to this is not what you know, it's who you know. This is the biggest who you know group I know of. So I want to thank you, and good luck to all those who are. My position is it's a contract with the State Election Board of Maryland, and it's in Annapolis. And so the government, the state, by law, has to redo their election process, including the voting booths. So this is and I'm a senior business analyst and a requirements analyst. And so we're just getting on the ground floor, and they have to get this all done by the 2016 elections and beyond. So this contract is going to go at least for a couple of years, and they said beyond that. So I am very grateful for that. And it's not a short-term contract, but it is for a couple of years. So thank you.
Thank you for your insights. Well, we have a wonderful speaker tonight, Lorne Epstein, and Lorne reminded me it's probably been at least almost half a dozen times he's been here presenting to us. And I said, Lorne, how do you want me to introduce you? And he said, well, just tell him I'm just an overall great guy. So, but it is also about what he does know. Big line. So Lorne's been at this corporate recruiting and career specialist stuff since 1996. He's another New Yorker, so I relate to Lorne every time he comes up. Just his mannerisms and style and the way he speaks, I just go, that reminds me of home. So it's great to have Lorne up here. He's very engaging. He's been doing this for a while. He's interviewed thousands of professionals and helped them with their job search plans. I know he'll make it a very engaging night for you tonight. And if not, then you're just a bad audience. What can I tell you? So, all right, on that note, Lorne, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So first off, I just want to let you guys know that Mel is taking folks to the White House because this organization is being recognized as a leader in job placement. That's amazing, right? And they're actually affecting policy. So I want you to know that I've been doing this for years, and I've never been involved with an organization that is as engaged, has as many folks coming on such a consistent basis, covering so many different bases. So if you've never been to another one of these, this is like the best. And Mel and the staff are just amazing. And Bob, who's not here, they're fantastic. I mean, this is really a one-of-a-kind organization. So a big round of applause. Mel. So my name's Lorne Epstein, and I'm here tonight because it matters to me what you do. I don't get paid to do this. If I wasn't with you, I'd be with my wife, who's amazing, and I'd have a nice time. So I'm here because it matters to me that in your mind, I know that a lot of you either are looking for another job or looking for a job. And that's not just a job for you. You have, families, children, or spouses that you have to take care of. It's really important. And I get the importance of having a job. So that's why I'm here. And tonight, we're going to do some exercises. So anybody, I always pick on athletes, but anybody a musician? And what, also we're going to be on videotape tonight, so we're all going to be on YouTube. So be nice. Hang on a second. Nice. We have a microphone? Because he's going to... Cool.
I'm also the runner. There we go.
There you go. Stand up. What's your name?
Wait,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What instrument do you play?
play violin.
Violin.
Yeah,
So, how long have you been playing the violin?
46 years.
46 years. So since he was 1, 2, right? And do you perform? How often do you perform?
Several times a month. I go to your church.
So 3 times a month?
At least that.
And how many times a month do you practice?
Oh, gosh.
Ballpark.
Maybe
Half a dozen?
Yeah, depending on the nature of the engagement.
So like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah. Right.
So, thanks. So for 3, so he makes, like, for every one time he does it in reality, you know, for an audience, he practices 3 or 4 times. So my point is, and thank you, Wayman. So my point is that if you want to be good at something, you got to practice. He's been doing it for 46 years? Yeah, 46 years. So when you first started playing violin, did you practice more?
Yes, I
You did, you practice more. Yeah, so you want to get good at something, you practice it. And anybody here practice interviewing, like not in an interview? Anybody?
Yeah.
You do. Has anybody, raise your hand if you've never seen me before. Oh, that's most of you. All right, you're in for a treat. This is interactive. That means I come up to you and I ask you questions and we talk and have fun. Right, so we're going to do stuff. So I've been, as Mel said, I've been doing recruiting since '96. And does the mic work if I bring it over?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I've interviewed a lot of people, and I find that there are a lot of places where you can really make a difference in your ability to get the job. A lot of places. Like what was said, the cover letter, the resume, right? But the one piece that I find to be, I think, the most essential is the interview. The interview where you're in front of somebody, they're asking you questions, you're asking them questions, and you're both answering. It's a very simple process. It's really like a conversation, right? Hey, how's it going today? Oh, it's going pretty good, you know, like that, right? But you want those questions and answers to be succinct and also powerful, right? They've got to have that person think that they should hire you, right? Pretty simple, straightforward. That's the objective. So that's what we're going to practice tonight. So before we practice, I guess I'll leave. Is someone going to run the mic or should I hold it? Oh, you're going to? Okay.
You took it away from me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Typical New Yorker.
There you go.
Here we go.
So we're going to talk about interviewing, and then we're going to practice interviewing. And some of you, if you don't have this sheet, there's a sheet here. It looks like a scorecard. There's some over there, but everyone, there should be enough for everyone. Just have one. Make sure you have a pen. And we're going to practice. You're going to get a buddy. So just kind of think, like in the back of your head, is there someone else at this table that I could, you know, be talking to? So, you know, what's the point of an interview, right? Obviously, it's to get the job, but I think it's more than that. So you're telling a story, right? When, like all of you, right? I've only been up here for maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes. All of you have made a judgment about me. And it's okay, I know it, right? But either you like me or you don't like me, or you like some of the things I've said, or maybe you don't like some of the other things I said, or I know Mel, so maybe you really don't like me. But you have made up your mind about something. And that's really important to notice, because when an interviewer sees you, they've already made up your mind. Now, I am up here, I've done this a lot of times, so I feel like I am in charge of the narrative, right? I'm the one who's writing the story that you're listening to. And hopefully, it's a story that will have you hear me, be receptive to what I have to say, and make this evening as effective for you. Because that's really all it is for me, is to make this evening as effective for you as possible. That's what I'm doing. And hopefully the content will do that as well. So when you're in that interview, you're telling a story. And, you know, we love stories. Human beings, if you haven't read this book, and I'm going to probably recommend a bunch of books tonight, but it's a book called The Storytelling Animal by Jonathan Gottschall, The Storytelling Animal. And he talks about the purpose of stories. And a lot of us learned stories as kids. You know, we got told stories. It was comforting, it was fun, it was entertaining. And most of us, I think, use stories as a way to entertain ourselves. But in fact, stories, and I won't get into it in our conversation now, but stories are part of our evolution. They're a necessary part of our evolution and who we are. Our basic form of communication is in story. So when you go into the interview, it's an opportunity for you to tell a story. And I'm going to talk to you about the way I tell stories and the way I'd like you to experiment with telling stories. It's not the only way to tell a story, but I think it's the most effective way. It's the way that you see in movies. And there are 3 components. So the first component is background. And I'm going to repeat myself on some of these things. Background is the first part. Tension is the second part. And then resolution is the third part. Right? So the first part is background. And what background means is everything that happened before this moment in time. That's background. Tension is the problem. That's the problem. Oh, it is the problem. And resolution is the solution to the problem. Every story, every movie that you've ever loved has those 3 components. So I'll reference Star Wars because it's an old enough movie that if you haven't seen it, you should see it. There's a scene where, Luke Skywalker, who's the hero, comes to save the princess. And they battle through, these enemies. So that's the stormtroopers, yes, the enemy, right? So before that moment in time, we had this background of Luke. He's a farm boy, he's coming on this mission. He didn't really want to do it, but now he wants to do it. He's going to save the princess. He comes in, I'm here to save you. Yay, resolution, right? So then they go out in the hallway and boom, they're getting attacked again, tension. Right? Then they blow a hole in the wall and they jump through. Yay, resolution. But they fall into a garbage pit. Oh, tension. Right? Then the garbage pit's going to kill them. More tension. And then it stops. More. It's on and on and on and on. Think of any movie, any story that you really like, and that's what happens. So I'm going to give you an example. It's a made-up example, but I'm going to give you an example of how you can tell a story if I was interviewing. Right? So let's pretend for a moment that I am a sales manager and I work for Apple. And, tomorrow we're going to be releasing the new iPhone thing. But I get a call tonight from the Apple truck. So I'm in the interview, right? I'm in the interview. We get a call tonight. We're gonna get all these Apple things, but the driver of the truck broke down 100 miles outside of town. So I call up my sales force, and all of us drive out to the truck and load up our cars with these Apple things and bring them in, and we meet the deadline, right? So I can tell that story in an interview. If I was interviewing for a sales manager, like, well, I'll tell you what happened one time, because people will say, tell me a time when. Behavioral interviewing question. They'll always ask you about a time. And you should have lots of these stories about everything that you want to say. Because they will only know what you say. I know in the back of my head sometimes if I've gone in for an interview, I'm thinking, oh man, they're going to think this about me, they're going to think that about me. And the truth is they're only going to think about me what I tell them. Right? So now, let's say I tell them that story. So now I'm going to ask a question. So if I told you that story in an interview, like, hey, I'm a sales manager, and this one time, maybe they asked me, how do I handle, problems, right? So, the day before the big shipment arrives, the truck breaks down, I get my whole team out, we save the day, right? So you had the background, which is this thing is coming, right? The tension, which is the trucks broke down, and the resolution is that we went and got it. What are you making up about this, me as a sales guy, without me saying it? What are the words that come to your mind? Resourceful,
Problem solver.
Flexible.
proactive, problem solver.
Creative.
I'm sorry?
Initiative.
I took initiative, creative, I'm flexible, dedicated, team player. What else? Get results.
Go the extra mile.
I go the extra mile, literally. I'm passionate. Right. Did I ever say any of those words in my interview answer? I didn't have to. Well, you know what? I didn't even imply it. I just told the story. You can make up whatever you want to make up. And you will. You will. That's why that interview answer, I think, is like the best freaking answer. Right? That's why I use it, because It is, we all have, who of us, raise your hand, if you've had a hero moment at work? Raise your hand if you've had a hero moment ever at work, ever. Where you've been a hero, done something amazing, done something great, pulled a rabbit out of your hat, sold something, or did something fantastic. You all have. I guarantee it. You all have a story. You all have that thing that you did that was really remarkable. That says more about your character and more about your person, your beingness, your human component than any metric of what you've accomplished. And that's what that part of the interview is for when you answer a question, is to really demonstrate that you're someone that they can work with. You know, I always say the purpose of the resume is to get you an interview. A resume will never get you a job, ever. Never. The purpose of the resume is to get you the job, but the purpose of the interview, excuse me, to get you the interview. The purpose of the interview is to get you the job. So you're getting the job in this interview. And it's important that those answers blow the socks, you know, really like, and engage them in a way that has them ask more questions. Because after I answered that question, if you were an interviewer, raise your hand, tell me what other question you'd ask me. After I just said those three things. Yeah, could we have the Mel? Of course, it's as far away from Mel as possible. Is there anybody closer to Mel? Or you can make him run.
Please raise your hand.
Over here.
Over here. Now you know why I can make it to the Department of Labor. I run like I wanted to give you enough look up.
So, stand up.
Sure.
What's your name?
Robbie,
Robert.
so the first question I had was, you know, if you're a sales manager, you're not a store manager, why did you go to get the iPads or whatever iPhones that you talked about? Because typically, I would think a store manager would have the responsibility, not a salesperson. I would rather have the salesperson take the orders while I'm managing them to get the devices that were taken.
Cool, that's awesome. That's a great question. So, I mean, in the way I told the story, I think actually I misspoke. I meant the guy who was, but that's fine. So he heard the story and automatically he's like, oh, that's interesting. Why did you do it? Like, it evoked a great question, like, why? Why did you do it? And I could give you a great answer, like, because it really mattered to me. It really mattered to me. All my guys, you know, the sales were on the line, their jobs were on the line, right? But yeah, that's a good question. Anybody else have, like, did anyone think of, like, wow, that made me think of something to ask more? I want to know more about that story. Anybody? I'm going to pick on you, so.
What were the sales for the day?
What were the was it you thinking that too? What were the sales for the day? They want to know the rest of the story. Both of them. They want to know the rest of the story. That's awesome. Because now they're like, I like the story. I want to hear the rest of the story. Now it's like spoon feeding a really hungry baby. Okay, all right, here's a little more. Okay, here's a little more. Right? And that would be, that's great, that's what you want. Then the conversation, the interview, becomes about what? About the story, but what does it become about?
You.
Me and what about me?
Results.
How awesome I am! What are they going to be thinking? Like, oh, this guy's amazing, I want to find out more. They've already made up their mind about how amazing, like, they've already made up their minds. I guarantee it, they've already made up their minds how much they thought that was cool. If they want to know, like those kinds of details. And that's how you know. That's how you know how you're doing in the interview. What's coming out of the interviewer's mouth? Based on what's coming out of yours. Any questions? Am I got you guys? Is this good stuff? Okay, but any questions? All right. So you can always raise your hand. This is free form, so I'm happy to, I'll always get back on track. I think what I want to do is I want to like flatten the entire interview process and just dissect this one little component. And this one little component is asking questions, answering questions. Asking questions, answering questions. And really, we're just going to be working on you're going to be answering questions side. We're not going to even talk about you asking, right? We're just going to have you work on answering questions. So, all right, you're going to get ready with the clock, my IT technology guys. That's a cue. So I want you to think back, okay? I asked you a minute ago if you remember a time when you were a rock star at work. I want you to think back to a time, because we're going to use that. You're going to use that tonight. So think back. It doesn't matter when it was. It doesn't matter when it was. And it doesn't matter if it's in the career that you're doing now. I don't care. It's okay. I want a time where you can think of a story where there was background, like in your mind, like 1 or 2 sentences of background, 1 or 2 sentences of tension, a problem. Like what happened? Ignore the clock, it's just for them. It's kind of hard. It's huge. It's a big clock. Tension and then resolution. Like what did you do to save the day? Right? So think back. This is going to give you a moment. And while you're thinking, I want to remind you that your answer is perfect. Like what you come up with is perfect. And you are not going to embarrass yourself. You cannot mess this up. This is easy. You know, what we hear, this is all friendlies. No one here is interviewing for a job. This is like practice, right? No one is going to succeed. No one's going to fail. This is all practice, right? This is all just practice. So you can let go of any judgment you have about yourself or about anybody else or about your jobs or anything. And just think of a time when you were really great at work. You made a really amazing contribution in the face of a significant problem. So raise your hand if you have one. I mean, everyone raise your hand if you have one. If you have one. Okay? If you don't have one, raise your hand. You don't have one, sir? Or are you just wiping your... You don't have one?
Oh, I was just wiping my eyes.
I didn't see your hand go up. You have one? Okay, good. Anybody not have one? Anybody not have one? So everyone has one? Everyone. Not everyone raised their hand, so I'm going to ask another time. Anybody here not have a story? You are going to have... You don't? I don't have a story. Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you for being courageous and saying, I don't have a story. I appreciate that. Can I have the microphone now? No, Rhonda, listen. I am not, listen. I am not, I promise you.
The exit's right over here.
First of all, give her a big round of applause. I am not going to embarrass you, okay? Any more than I already have. You didn't let me finish. Okay, so you don't have a story.
I don't have a story.
Okay, great. So can we work together on this?
Sure.
Can I help you find a story?
Okay.
Okay, so what do you do?
Communication specialist.
In the military?
Defense contractor.
Defense contractor. So what does that mean,
What does it mean?
to be a communication specialist?
A lot of writing, employee engagement, community outreach.
Okay, community outreach employee, and have you been doing that your whole career?
Probably for the past 10 years at least.
Okay, what did you do before that?
Let's see, I guess it probably was similar to a lot of public relations,
Okay.
internal communications.
Okay. Did you ever catch a really bad grammatical mistake that was going to go out to like the national press or some press?
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that.
You hadn't thought of that. Okay, great. So think about that for a second. Okay, do you have a story now?
It's not a good story, though.
I don't care.
It's
Rhonda, you went from not having a story to having a story. I am happy. Okay, well, you can keep thinking about it. You have a story?
You're putting me on the spot.
I'm not going to ask you to tell me your story.
Okay. All right. I'm getting close.
You're getting close.
Yes.
Okay, but now you have a story.
Yeah, I have an idea for a story.
So you're a writer.
Yes.
She's a writer. This isn't easy. This isn't easy, right? You're a writer, and this is a little challenging. So if you're challenged with it, and the person who's the writer stands up courageously and says, I'm having a challenge, don't be surprised. It's not easy. So you got a theme, right? You're going to keep working on that.
I'll keep working
All right. You're going to have a chance to share it with someone else, not in front of us.
Okay.
Don't worry. I won't embarrass you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else not have a story? Thank you, by the way, Ron. Appreciate it. Anybody else not have a story? We'll know. No? Okay. All right. So somebody raise your hand who has a story, a really good story. Somebody thinks they have a fantastic story. Oh, yes, in the back. We're making Mel like get his exercise. And what's your name?
Joy.
Joy. Everyone, thank you for joining us. So I want you to know, I'm excited to hear your story. So tell me your story.
This is very recent.
So can I work with you on this?
Yes.
So let's stand back a little bit so that these folks can see you, because we're gonna be kind of like in front of the room in the back. And you can tell them I'll just stand here, and I may stop you and we can work. Go ahead.
I'm the administrative person in the office, and 3 weeks before a project was due, I was informed that I was to coordinate a major move. Like one person was moving into a vacant office, and somebody else was going to occupy their office, and so forth. So it's about 4 offices involved. So I called up Department of General Services, which is the moving department that would help offices with that. And I had a deadline date because a new person was going to start working in one of the other offices. And I was informed that they were on a major move in the Judicial Center, and he was not going to be able to get to me.
Who actually moved?
To actually help me with the
Right.
move. So I got my 18-year-old son, and I had another coworker who had a teenage son, and all the guys in the office, and a couple dollies. And we got it done.
Awesome. Awesome. Good. Okay. So raise your hand if you found that story compelling. Okay. Now, those of you who raised your hand, so what did you make up about Joy from that story?
She got it done.
Yeah, do you get that about yourself?
Yeah.
Good, cool, awesome. So that's a great story. Thank you. Anybody else have a story? Yes, and you're not scratching your eye. That's an actual hand raise. Oh, behind you.
Okay,
What's your name?
Paul.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for taking.
Yeah.
Big round of applause, Paul.
Well, this
So let's
story-
stand over here, so this way everyone can see
okay.
you, and you could be on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, see, this one actually happened yesterday. Well, I work as an usher at a movie theater, trying to find a better job elsewhere. Preferably, I don't know, I could probably start a career here at church, but I digress. So yesterday, everyone was trying to, actually every morning, we have this checklist, see? And on it is a list of, well, tasks and whatnot. One of them was to clean, drink keg connectors, which the people who were assigned to the concession stand hadn't done yet. So I decided to try and do it myself. But considering that's not one of my normal duties as an usher, one of the managers came by and he tried to show me how to do it. Unfortunately, when he got one of the keg connectors open, well, it started spraying everywhere and he couldn't get it shut again. So, well, eventually it took 2 managers to get the keg connector reattached to the keg. And by then, there was beer all over the floor of the walk-in refrigerator. So they assigned me to clean it up, which I did, with a mop.
Okay, so raise your hand if you were moved by the story. Okay, a couple people. All right, so here's what I'm gonna say. So I can work with you. Okay, so that story, it told me. What did you guys think? What were the things that came up for you? What did it make you think about Paul?
Quick thinking.
Problem solving, helpful.
Think on your feet.
Funny storyteller? He's a cleaner. Yeah, yeah. So is there, what other, have you had other careers or other jobs?
Yes.
Like what?
For a couple of years, I've been a counselor at Thorn Number 7. You know what that is, right?
No.
It's a summer camp for mentally disabled kids that's hosted here at McLean Bible Church. Well, the first year I was here, there was this guy named, I believe his name was, his name was Daniel. He's an avid baseball fan. Now there was this talent show coming up and, well, he didn't want to participate in the talent show, but I decided to try and, well, help him get in there anyway. So, well, his being an avid baseball fan, I decided to try and teach him, well, how to hit a ball with a bat. It was a plastic bat. And at the talent show, well, I pitched the ball to him. He missed the first swing. On the second swing, on the second pitch, rather, he hit it. Needless to say, well...
So wait, stop right there. Stop right there. Raise your hand if you like that story better than the first one. I did. And I'll tell you what. For me, the first story was kind of like you were doing what you were told to do. But the second story, you actually reached out to somebody and used your care.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And care. So that's
the kind of, that's the kind of job I actually like doing better.
Well, then it shows in the story. So that would be the story I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other story? Yes, young lady. And what's your name?
Sarah.
My name is Sarah Madden.
Sarah, okay. Yeah, let's stand over here. Don't want
Now,
to miss you too.
now this is a volunteer position, not a job position.
Doesn't matter. No teeing up. No teeing up. So I'm going to explain what teeing up is. Okay. So teeing up is. So listen, I want to tell you this story. It's not that good a story, but it's the only story I can come up with. Wait. I'm just explaining what teeing up is. Teeing up is everything you say before you actually tell the story. I don't want any teeing up. Anything that comes out of your mouth that's teeing up, like listen, or like diminishing or augmenting or somehow like bending that story that you have, I don't want you to talk about it. I don't want you to talk about it tonight, and I don't want you to talk about it in the interview. Because it really is just your judgment about the story. And you don't want your judgment on the story. I don't want to hear your judgment on the story. So tonight, we're just going to give it a break. Just going to break it up and then start the story.
Okay, a couple of years ago, I was taking classes at a Bible college, Washington Bible College, Capital Bible Seminary, getting a degree, my master's in biblical studies, and they needed some help to help with the physical layout of the campus. And I had helped tutor students, but I'd never done anything physical. And I was asked to, help clean out bathrooms or something because of the dorms. And I thought, I've got some time, I'm between jobs, I can. So why not? So I started cleaning dorms, and then I realized they really need a lot of help, and I started organizing volunteers. And over the next year and a half, probably a couple hundred volunteers came through, and I never knew who was going to show up every month. And one time, a guy came and he said he was a roofer. I said, really? And we were having leaking problems. We were having leaks in this one very old building. And he said, can you get me the black stuff to fix it? So I asked the maintenance guy to go get the maintenance student helper to go and get black stuff. The roofer says, oh my goodness, you cannot use that on a rubber roof. It will actually eat into it and cause more problems. So I said, okay, what's the stuff you really need? And he told me. I said, okay, I'll go out to Lowe's, get a couple of buckets of it, so $100, and then he was able to fix it. And this was consistently what we did for a year and a half, and I hate to be disappointed. I hate surprises. and this is what I face
Okay,
every
pause
month.
right there. Yeah. So, you want to get them looking? We were together. Yeah, okay. So, it was a great story. Now, when you said, I hate surprises, that stuff, take that out of the story. Because there's no way I can infer that. That's a direct statement. You want to leave out the direct statement. You want to leave it as a story. Background, I worked at this place a couple of years ago, I was supposed to do this work, and then the tension was that, we needed more volunteers, there was a gap in services, and the resolution was I enrolled hundreds of people to do all this free work at the school, right? So, I would tighten it up where I'd say, the real problem was that there was not enough support for the things that we needed. And one example was, we had a hole in the roof, and this roofer was there, and I got him to fix it for basically just materials, right? That's the story. So, you see the difference? Okay. So, what did you guys think of the story? What did it make you think? Yay! What did it make you think about Sarah? Initiative, yeah.
Organizer.
So, when you hear that feedback, you can use that answer to ask a question, to answer a question related to what they're talking about, right? Like if someone says, "Are you resourceful?" You answer this in a story. So here we're injecting something new in our conversation tonight, right? Like, what story do I tell when? Right? You don't want to just tell a story. You want to tell a story that's relevant to the question. So you want to have a whole bunch of stories. Like this framework, you can use, you have hundreds, dozens of different stories, right? And they can be micro, tensions. Micro, no, go ahead. You don't say anything else. Hang on. Do you really want to sit down? Oh, okay. So they're little micro, so you want to insert that answer, that story, when there's a question that meets it, right? Are you resourceful? Do you go above and beyond? Do you have leadership skills? How have you ever been a leader? Those things, that's a way of demonstrating. So thank you. So, anybody honestly not quite get what we're doing yet? It's okay. It's complicated. Anybody not get what we're doing? Okay. I just want to make sure everyone is really clear, because I want you to bring that story to mind again, and if it's not that story, then maybe it's the next story that you thought, oh, that's a better story. So, whatever story it is that you have, does anybody not have a story? Everyone kind of get this thing? Okay. All right, so here's how it's going to work. Great, awesome. So we're going to go back and forth. So on the scorecard in front of you, let's just take a look at it so I can explain to you how this works. You're not going to write in it until you're actually in the exercise. You can take it home with you, but it's a scorecard. It's not really, Mel was asking me to be posted on the internet. I mean, it's not really helpful unless you're actually in the exercise. So it says how to answer interview questions, right? That's what we're doing. So ask your partner one of the questions, and I'm going to give you some time. So I'll say, go, and then you don't have to look at the clock, but I'll look at the clock, and then I'll say, stop, and you'll stop, right? So the first part is, did you understand the answer, right? So, okay, so you can ask them, tell me a time, tell me a story, or whatever question you want to ask, it really doesn't matter. They're just going to be sharing a story, okay? So you can ask the question, tell me a time when you were, fill in the blank. You were a great leader, or just tell me a story. Let's actually tighten it up to just tell me a story. And then they're going to answer it. And then you're going to put 5 for, yeah, they absolutely, you understood the question, the answer rather. Or 5, they were really concise and it was to the point. Or it was really clear. Or it wasn't, right? And along this continuum of 5 being the most and 1 being the least. Please be honest, because this is just practice. And you're going to get another chance. So you're each going to get a chance, and then you're each going to get another chance. Okay? Is that clear? You're each going to get a chance to do it, and then we're going to do a little how did it go? And then you're going to get a chance to do it again. Okay? All right, so find a partner. So it should be 2. And if you raise your hand if you don't have a partner, and if you don't have a partner, look around the room if somebody has their hand raised, and go to that person.
Sure, you parted out with her.
2. You gotta do
leave?
2. It's easier with 2. Who would like to share their story? Now, it's okay if your partner wants to volunteer you if they think you have a good story. So any partner wants to volunteer? Oh, we got a volunteer. Right here? Thank you for volunteering here.
15 stories.
Lori?
Yes.
So can I have your attention? So, all of your attention. So, Lori, hi. Thank you for getting up. So, what's the story?
A few years back, I was working in business development, working for our head of business development, and I was on the international side of it. But he also he was in charge of domestic business development and sales. And at the time, our sales team they were great salespeople, but they were selling stuff that we couldn't deliver on. They were selling stuff that they could close deals, but it sometimes was either we couldn't deliver or we could deliver at a huge loss. And he was not a very detailed person.
Shocker.
Yeah, self-acknowledged. And so he asked me to come on over and help deal with what was becoming a huge mess because everybody in the company, the legal, finance, marketing, product development, all hated the sales team. No shocker. So I came in and I sat down with everybody that was involved, the salespeople and everybody else throughout the company, and helped them see the other person's side. Helped the marketing people understand where the salespeople were coming from. They needed to close these deals, and these were good deals, but there could be some improvements. So bringing everybody else that was pissed off at the sales team on board with us, and also coaching the sales team about why they were being hated and why their deals were being held up in finance and legal because they didn't want to deal with them. So first of all, dealt with the people piece, and then put in place some processes, meetings, communication streams, review process of each deal that allowed us to actually meet our numbers that year and exceed our numbers, as well as closing the deal closure time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So I wouldn't say meet, I'd say exceed.
Yeah.
Because exceed,
that, yeah,
right? So that's a powerful story. And so how does it feel to tell that story?
It feels good. Like, it's been a while, so I kind of haven't, pieced together, oh yeah, what did I do in that? And it feels good.
Why does it feel good?
Because what I was able to accomplish in something that I had actually never done before. I'd left that piece out. I'd never had any experience in sales or sales operations whatsoever.
So put that in the beginning. I had never done this thing before, and more in the background.
Yeah.
He wrote.
So it felt good. And what did you guys think? What was your experience of Lori's story? What did you think of Lori? Hello? Organized?
Detail-oriented.
Detail-oriented?
Very process-driven.
Process-driven?
Good liaison.
Good liaison, right. Yeah. So that was great. So thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to volunteer someone or themselves? Yes. Sure. You can stand up and talk about your partner. Is that okay with your partner?
Yes, I already checked. Okay,
She
Kathy
did say yes.
Duff.
You said yes, I already checked.
She
Kathy's
knows
okay?
I'm talking about her.
But I get to ask the question. I'm leading the workshop. Is it okay, Kathy? Okay.
Okay, Kathy Duff is in IT business development, and she was with PricewaterhouseCoopers on a project for the U.S. Postal Service. They were going to investigate whether or not they should do something called expedited mail, getting the mail the next day. And they did this, fancy study all up in the head. However, they needed somebody who had sales experience. She was the only person on the team who had sales experience. Anyway, the upshot of it is you can go to your post office and get expedited mail service because of Kathy.
Awesome. So wait before you applaud. So here, this is beautiful. So thank you. The value of a good story is what?
The result.
Somebody else can repeat it. oh, you interviewed Kathy, what'd you think? And you tell that story. Now what am I going to think?
She's right. Hire her.
Impressive, right? Hire her, right? It's, you know, like, if this is the juice, right? We've been working on the squeeze. Here's the juice. Is that worth it? I mean, honestly, is that worth it to you? Really, raise your hand if that is worth it to you to do this really well. Yeah, yeah, that's what you want. This is, thank you. Yeah, no, hang on, that's right. So, if you might sit down. Kathy, would you tell us the story? I only do this because I know Kathy's shy.
Also, it's her first time.
Yeah, good.
My first day. I haven't even thought
First day on the
about
planet or
looking-
first day?
looking for a job.
First day. Okay, so that's teeing up. That's an example, and thank you.
It is.
Wait, Kathy, hang on. Thank you. That is an example of teeing up. It's something that is minimizing everything that comes after what she says. This is my first day. At what? I mean, like, it doesn't, it's non-contextual. It doesn't support the story. It only takes away from the story. Right? Because it mitigates everything else that comes after. It's only my first day. That means I'm somehow inexperienced or less than or whatever. It's okay. Everyone does it. Everyone does it. So I'm not making example of you. Everyone does it. Everyone. So I'm just saying, don't say that.
Okay.
Start with the story.
I was with PricewaterhouseCoopers. They got a project to evaluate for the United States Postal Service whether or not they should continue to be in expedited mail. Federal Express had come about and was cleaning their clocks. The UPS came about, and they were not as reliable, and they were more expensive, and they really didn't have a lot to offer in comparison. So, PricewaterhouseCoopers did an analysis, looked at the marketplace, looked at the value, looked at their...
So pause for a second. When you say Pricewaterhouse, you mean you.
Well, I was part of the team that did the strategic analysis.
Okay. So I'm going to alter your story here. Say, my team, the team that I was on, did you lead the team?
I did not lead the
But I was
team.
on the team.
I was on the team.
Because I'm not hiring PwC.
Right.
So I don't want to hear about PwC in the first
Right.
person.
Okay.
Like, I was on the team.
I was part of the team
Yeah.
that did this study and this analysis and presented it to them.
Yeah.
And they said, this is interesting, but we're still not sure. We want you to test it out. I was the only one in the company that had actual sales experience. Everybody else had analytical experience, which is their business. So they gave me the project management position. I was the project leader, went up to New York because they said, that's the worst place in the world for this to succeed.
Sure.
If you can do it there, you know the New York story. So we went up there for a year. We hired temporary salespeople, so the skill level was not, you know, it was temporary. And we looked at we went out with them. We interviewed or had appointments with all levels of all various companies and determined how we can make this work. And again, it was not,
Okay. You have to say anything again. You already said it.
okay. So,
Trust your listener. You don't have to repeat anything.
Right. So we did find a way to do it, and the way to do it is the relationship at the shop level, right? Not the executive level.
Now pause there for a second.
All right.
How many of you, because I'll tell you what I'm feeling after I ask you, how many of you, well, are feeling like, I really want to know the end of the story? Right?
Okay.
No, that's good.
All right.
That's good, because what you're building,
It's tension.
exactly. Exactly. You have us. We're the little babies going, feed me. Another spoonful, please. Keep going. You may interject.
Lorne's been a friend of mine for 15 years. God bless his soul. I love you.
Interject.
I want to tell you,
Here's the thing, I've hired a lot of people and I've been an executive of many different types of organizations. And what you're doing, what I like from the hiring seat, is if I don't know how to do something like this, you're teaching me in this interview how to do it. But here's the trick. If I decide not to hire you, then I got the knowledge of how you did it. So the real trick is to tell them enough, but don't make them hire you to do it for them. See what I'm saying?
I do. And
Okay.
I teach. You're right.
You're a teacher, naturally, and it's a beautiful thing. It's
Right.
my style too. But don't sell yourself
You're
by
right.
giving them too much information so they don't hire you.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, let's see. So we determined how this will sell. We increased their business and
By how much?
priority mail and express mail.
By how much?
I don't know the numbers off the top of
Okay.
my head. And they decided that they wanted to do this.
They want to keep priority mail
They wanted to keep priority mail
instead of getting rid of it
instead of getting rid of
for the
it
United States of America.
for the United States of America. And so
Say that.
now that
Like
is
the
their-
whole country or
that
United
is
States
their
of America.
major- That's their major business now.
That's a great story.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So that's a great story. So Kathy, what I would do is I would write it out a couple of times, trim it up a little bit, but it's very, very good. It's very, very good. Thank you. And the only reason I say it's very, very good because I'm all about results because she told it, right? After she heard it, once or twice. Okay. Anybody else have a story they want to share? Actually, let me run through this because my time is minimal. We're getting late. Yes, please. Nathan.
Hi, so I'm Nathan Summers, and I'm a professional singer in the United States. I was a professional singer in the United States Air Force Band, and as one of my secondary duties, I was a stage manager. I was on tour with the Air Force Band and singing sergeants down in Florida. And as a stage manager, we go in and we set up all the equipment, and then as performers, we perform. And then we get the privilege of breaking down after everybody leaves. Well, little did we know that the ground was soaked with a lot of wet ground and a lot of mud. And so we rolled up all of the equipment, which is very, very heavy, audio equipment, band equipment, everything else. 2 semis full of band equipment and audio equipment. And they were stuck in about 2 feet of mud. So I was a little bit concerned about that, and we saw that the morale was starting to get down. We thought, how are we going to get this thing out? The drivers were concerned because they weren't going to get enough sleep to travel the next day, and everybody wanted to get back to the hotel so they could drink. So I was walking around, and I just, kind of pulled out my wallet, and I thought, what kind of resources do I have in here? Oh. Look at that. There's a AAA card. Wonder if I can give them a call. So I did give them a call. They came to the rescue. Took them about 30 minutes to pull our semis out of 2 feet of mud, but it saved the day. We were able to get back on track, went back to the hotels. Everybody bought me a drink, and we went on our way.
That's great stuff. First of all, I want to say, Nathan, you actually seem a little uncomfortable in front of everybody. So I've sensed he's very. So that's a great story. And here's why I want to dissect it. So it was very tight, right? The background was I was doing this piece of work. I'm a singer. I was in charge of getting this equipment back on. There was the rain, the mud, and then the problem, right? The rain, the mud, and then the trucks are stuck. You can visualize it, right? It's not conceptual. I can see a truck, a big semi, stuck in the mud. These things make the story stick, right? When you can say things that paint a picture, allow me to paint a picture of what I think a semi-truck looks in 2 feet of mud. and now I know it's stuck. And then I could just see him, like he did it, but I could just see him opening up his wallet and going, oh, AAA. And then he called them, and they were there, and I could see the whole, and like, it was, the words you were using allowed me to paint a very good story. So that's a great thank you, and thank you for serving in our military. Thank you very much. So I want to move along because I know we have one more round to do. So we're going to do another round. Now that you've gotten some feedback on your story and you've heard some really good stories, now I want you to think about your story again. And I want you to think about some of these great stories that you heard and how can you reframe or better fine-tune your story so that it has some of the characteristics we just talked about. I'm sorry? Oh, that wasn't a question. So think about your story, fine-tune it, and you're going to get 2 minutes to share it. So partner A is going to be listening. And by the way, so the way your scorecard should look is that you should have scored on the scoring section number 1 so far. Scoring section number 2 should be blank. If you put it in there, that's okay. But now you're going to score in scoring section number 2. Okay?
Yeah, it says both of them.
It could be the same story or a different story. It really doesn't matter. Okay? So, if you want to. So, partner A is going to be listening, and partner B is going to be telling their story. You'll have 2 minutes, and go. 2 scoring sections that are complete. Exchange them, so you have yours. If you want to write, no, I'm sorry, excuse me. The last piece. So, would you hire this candidate? So this is like your final judgment, okay? And be honest, okay? Circle 1, and then you can either write down your feedback or just tell them. It's up to you. You're going to have about a minute to finish this piece. So you want to circle 1, circle it, either write down your notes or tell them, and then give it to them. So you'll exchange it and you'll have your own. Okay? This way you can see how you progress in the evening. All right? And go ahead. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the process? Anybody have any questions, any learnings, any discoveries? Anybody want to? Yes. We have a microphone?
I think with this exercise, you know, a lot of people like to go into an interview and be very technical.
I'm sorry,
A lot of people like to go into an interview and be very technical and talk about their hard skills. But what this exercise does is help the interviewer understand your soft skills. You know, your loyalty or your ability to negotiate, your ability to be proactive, which is really the reason for the interview anyway, because your hard skills is on your resume, and that's how you got to the interview in the first place. They already determined that.
Exactly.
So what they're trying to determine is what kind of a human being are you?
Yes.
And your soft skills. And I think that with this exercise, that really helps people to understand why in interviews do they ask these open-ended questions where you have to give a story or tell, you know, how you got to the desired end.
So I'm going to ask, did you find this valuable tonight?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I found it very valuable.
What was your takeaway, your big takeaway, or a takeaway? For you personally?
As far as how I improved?
I don't know, whatever.
Well,
maybe the bread was good.
Well, I think one of the things that she brought to my attention, which was really, I thought it was very good advice. I had shared a story about how I was a consultant, and I was sent on an assignment with somebody who was about 85 years old, and this person really didn't have current understanding. And what she brought to my attention is don't bash old people, you know. You'll be very gentle in describing. Be
it is what it is, Mel.
You know, be aware of when you're telling your story that you're not discriminating or anything. So the second time around, when I said this person's career was probably at its peak in the 50s, and he had retired about a decade ago and decided to come back to work. So from that information, you could probably tell he was in his 80s without me saying it.
So can I
wanted
just interject?
Yeah,
Can I work
yeah.
with you on the story?
Yeah.
So is the fact that this person was older
Yeah.
relevant to the tension?
Oh, absolutely, because he didn't know how to use a computer. We had 15
Okay,
million.
great.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah.
So let the story rest on he didn't know how to use a
the
computer.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and here's why. She's right.
Yeah.
But by saying the whole 50s remark is snarky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing of it was,
Right?
too, his
Wait,
understanding and methodology was back.
Right.
It wasn't current.
But it's snarky.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean by snarky? It's like pejorative, negative. It's disparaging.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. She
Don't say any of those things.
Yeah.
Don't say the 50s or the 40s or anything. So tell me the story. I want to hear the story.
Jeez. Okay, like I said, I'm a consultant, and there was a company who had a proposal about $15 million, and they decided instead of doing it in-house, they wanted to bring 2 consultants in to do the story. So they brought in 2 consultants. One person was my boss, who was the proposal manager. The second person was myself, the proposal writer. Well, they had brought the proposal manager in about a month before I got there as a writer to kind of do some pre-work before it was time to write. Well, when I got there, the senior vice president and the people who had actually hired him were having a lot of problems, but they didn't really say anything to me about it. And because we were both from the same agency, and because I have respect for my leadership, you know, I didn't really want to cause any problems or say anything.
Okay, all right, hold this for a second. That sentence makes me think that you're causing problems.
Okay.
She's like nodding. Yeah, so here's what I'm going to say. I mean, we can work through too much, but write this story down.
Okay.
And then cut out the parts that aren't the background. And for me, the background right now is I was a consultant on a project. I and my boss were brought in to write a proposal.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Everything else is not necessary. Extraneous to the story.
So get to the tension part. Okay, that was the background.
Now, what was the tension?
Well, the tension is that there were a number of things that just weren't done correctly.
Okay, so how many things?
Pretty much everything.
Okay, so what does that mean in English?
Well, there were data calls that should have been
so
sent
the
out.
proposal was written in a way that it wasn't going to get the work. Yeah, okay. So the way it was written before I got there, it was not going to get us the work. Is that true?
Well, it wasn't written. There were pre-work that needed. I was coming in.
The pre-work that was done before I was there was not going to work.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, but say it like that.
Okay.
Like that. That's the tension. And then what was the resolution?
And the resolution is I went to the vice president and told him, I'm here to the end. So, and I knew he wanted to fire the guy, but we were too deep into but I told him, I said, I'm here to the end.
When I say whoa, that means pause.
Okay.
It's a cowboy term.
Okay.
Whoa.
But you're in New York.
We have cowboys in New York. Seriously, it's like the plains of Brooklyn.
Okay.
So, no, really. So that whole part of he wanted to fire the guy, take that out of the story.
Okay.
And why?
Well, you don't want a negative story.
Yeah, but why? It's easy to say, I don't want that in, but why? Hang on, I'm asking her.
I don't know, you tell me.
No, you're learning, I'm not learning. You're
So
learning.
why take it out of the story?
Yeah.
I guess because it isn't relative to I guess it is relevant to the end because I ended up having to do his job
but
and
why
my
take
job.
it out?
Why take it out?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to take it out.
Okay,
I want to
great.
leave it in.
Great.
Because it's relevant to the end of the story because I had to step in and do his job and my job to get the proposal out the door.
And when you say that,
Yeah.
it sounds like you have a chip on your shoulder.
Okay.
Like there's anger there.
No, I mean, it wasn't.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm listening to the story. So how I would want to hear the story is that this guy wasn't getting the job done. I stepped up. I did my job and I did his job and I got it done.
Okay.
Do you hear a difference? What's the difference?
Well, you took that part out about he got fired and.
And it was fact-based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
see
was
what
the
you're
other
saying.
part. But that was the, yeah, exactly, thank you. So it was all about you and not about him.
I see, yeah.
Because if you make him wrong, then
Yeah.
you don't want to make anybody wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to be made wrong in any of the stories that you tell. Ever. Make nobody wrong. Ever. Not part of the story.
Do you think the interviewer would ever say, well, why did you have to step up and do his job and your job?
You know what? If they ask that, then you can come up with another story, but you don't ever put in, like, the thing is that, yes, you don't want negative in the story because people are then going to think something negative about you.
Okay. So if I go in and I said, me and my boss, we were brought in and I ended up having, I had to do my job and his job, does that make me seem like I'm overstepping the boundaries and doing his work and letting him, because I have to paint a picture that he was gone? I mean, why would I be doing my boss's job?
Yeah. Okay, so you want to couch it always in facts. So here's what I would say. I was a consultant on this project. And the tension I'd say was, and the work wasn't getting done. You know, and you just say, this work wasn't getting done. I stepped up and I got it done.
Okay.
And you could say, I got it done by doing this, this, and this. And that's it.
Okay.
That's it. More is less.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
less
because
is
that's
more,
a real
right?
lean story.
And then less is more. Less in the story makes a much better impact, right? You give fewer details about, it's just clean.
Yeah.
It's just clean. I'm glad you stood up. Because I gotta tell you, a lot of people tell stories and they may not know this. So this is important. So by you said everyone had the same thing going on in their mind.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, she even said, don't say that he was 85 and he was older, that sort of thing, because you don't want to make it seem like you're saying anything negative about a senior citizen.
Or anybody.
Yeah.
About anything.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. But that's the whole moral of my story when you said, what did you take away from it? Really think through, what you're saying so you don't offend.
So now let me ask you a question. So did you get value from tonight?
Oh, yeah.
And what was the value you got?
Well, the value is I understand, the purpose of this exercise is to learn to tell my story in a way that people will walk away and see my soft skills. Well, she was loyal. Well, she stepped up. Well, she was proactive. That was the value that I got out of it because,
Give it to the old guy.
Wait, hang on. So we don't have a lot of time, so if you have commentary, just tell them afterwards. If you have commentary, just tell them afterwards, because we got, not much time. And I got a few more things to do. So you can just let her know. Anybody else want to share a story? Anybody else want to share a story? Yes.
Hi, I'm Chris Merrill. It's my first night here.
Woohoo! Thanks for standing up.
Several years ago, I was working for a software company, had this really cool product, and I was selling to the Department of Defense Information Systems Agency. And I've been selling to them, it's a very involved sale, for over about a year and a half. And as we were closing in, they started to buy some of the product, but I was getting ready to sell to the entire enterprise. Just as I got there, my company went Chapter 11, they run into financial difficulty, and very quickly fell into Chapter 7, which means an asset sale. The whole thing falls apart. The acquiring people decided to keep me as the sales resource. And my customer, my prospect, was freaking out because they thought this was the ideal solution, and it was all going to fall apart. So my challenge was to go and, on one side, to go and work with the buying organization to reassure them, the company, that the key assets were being kept by the acquiring company. To find out legally what needed to be done as far as transferring with a novation GSA schedule.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah.
So the story's great. Now you're getting into some of the mechanics. I don't want to know mechanics in the story yet. I want to know, I got the background, I got the tension, what was the resolution?
So the resolution was, I was pretty much on my own, and
What happened?
And what I did was, by working with the people that wanted to buy, I found out who, if this headquarters
Okay, hang on.
was involved. And,
Hang on.
Yeah.
Did you save the deal?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah. And
Give me the money, like, it's like background, the tension, and I saved this deal.
right, I figured I had about 30 days to make it happen, to bring it together, and did so, got everything in place, and within 6 months did $2.5 million.
So, that's great. It's a great story. I would bring that, and I saved the deal right up to the, like, closer. All those things about the GSA and how you did it, that'll come in the next question. Because they'll ask, how'd you do it? Right? And then you can kind of tell the story of how you did it. That's a great story. So, is that helpful?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, cool. Thank you. How much time do we have? Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, all right, so I would do this all night. So I want to thank you all for being here, because I know we could all be someplace else, right? There isn't anybody here who could not be someplace else. But thank you. For me, this is like, I am so passionate about this. I love this. And that you're here to like play with me in like my backyard, this is so cool. Right? And I honor you all. I honor you for being here. And I thank you. I appreciate it. Come again. Tell your friends to come. I wrote a book on how to interview, and I sell it afterwards. If you want a copy, I'm happy to sell you one. I also have these little like business cards with interview tips. There's a bunch up there. You can take one if you like. What else can you? Thanks. And I'm going to hang around, so I know there's a couple people I'm going to talk to. If you wanted to give feedback to anybody else, feel free. And have a good night.
Lord, thank you. Well, this stuff is before everybody. Well, unless some of you maybe need to run, but we're not quite done just yet. This stuff is awesome that Lauren's going over with, and I know we're going to wrap up. I will tell you, I just proceeded to interview a guy our age who's been a long-term unemployed guy. And I'll tell you what, I can absolutely understand why he's long-term unemployed. Every time he would talk about a given job, all he was doing was complaining about his old boss and all the stuff. He was so negative, so incredibly negative. And this young CEO that I'm consulting with, he was all excited about it. I said, you don't want him in your organization. You know, these are the kinds of things, when you practice these stories, are so important. And what I think Lorne did that was so great is sometimes we get so caught up in the minutiae of our story is you lose the interest of the listener. So however much information you think you want to provide that really makes your story sound compelling to you because you think of all the things that you were doing to make that story happen, the listener's attention span goes down like this, and no matter how good the story is, you've lost them. And that's so much what Lauren's talking about, which is make it tight and get them to ask the next question. Because if they're intrigued and they want to know more, you got them in your hip pocket. So on that note, let me hand the mic over to Edie. And by the way, before I do that, Will has asked a favor if we've got some able-bodied folks, because we had to move into this room and set the room up. The church is hoping we will set the room down. So if you feel up to moving some tables around and so forth, we would love to have your help. And I will also remind you that security will probably be here in about 15, 20 minutes to start to make sure we get out of here by 10:30 so that they can clean up. So do your networking real quick, and if you can help us with chairs and tables, we'd love to have you help us out, okay? Thank you again. Lauren, thanks so much, and please come out and check out his book and all that kind of good stuff. Here's Edie to wrap us in prayer.
And we're just going to pause for a moment. Oh Lord, our Heavenly Father, thank you for your magnificent gift to us tonight through your servant. Now please take us home in peace and in safety. And if we should have again the privilege of coming and meeting this way, we will give you praise, we will give you honor, and we will give you glory to your matchless name. In our Savior's name, amen.